So this is the body camera of the death of Win Rozario. CCRB has recently found the officers involved guilty of excessive force, and they are asking for these officers to be terminated. Final say does go to the police commissioner. So this is Officer Alonji's body camera from that day. Let's just play that body camera real quick, and then let's get your thoughts on it.
What's up, man? Did you call?
Brother yet? Yeah.
On who?
Himself.
Called on himself? What's going on with him?
He's having an episode.
What kind of episode?
Like,
Is he a bipolar schizo? Like,
nah, like, he just,
what kind of episodes? Yeah.
so, basically, like, he was just going crazy. Like, he don't even know what he's doing, to be honest. Like, you guys
How old's your brother?
He's 19.
How old are you?
I'm 17.
Where's your dad?
He's not home. He's at work.
So who did I speak to on the phone?
I think it was my mom.
No, I spoke to a guy.
That was my brother.
He called on himself?
Yeah. So that's what I'm
What
saying. I don't think so.
High on drugs?
I don't believe so.
Is he diagnosed with anything?
I'm not sure.
All right. Oh, you told him second floor? Hello. What's up, pal?
আমরা তো মনে করছি সে ভালোই হয়ে গেছে কিন্তু কেন তো সে আবার এরকম করতেছে
Anybody else in the house? No.
Yo. Whoa.
So, all right. Oop. Sorry, fellas, I messed this one up. Well, all right. So, what'd you guys think about that whole incident? Eric, what'd you think?
Well, he's worried your mic's not going to work.
Oh, sorry. Was it Marlon's turn? I apologize.
No.
Go Eric, because Eric,
No.
because I think it's even more appropriate that Eric speak on this first, considering what they did to him in his career.
No, thank you. Yeah, listen, CCRB is an organization that's just full of complete disdain and bias for policing, and it's partly because, yes, they need more funding, so they need to justify their existence and their ability to grow, which is why they try to get themselves in more aspects of policing and really take part in stuff that they have no business. Their investigators are just not trained for, and they don't have the understanding. But partly, it's also because it's comprised of people that have a legitimate disdain for policing, and this is a challenge and a confrontation they get with the police department or any law enforcement agency, particularly with the NYPD, because a good majority of the CCRB panel, the personnel, the investigators, are not even from New York. They just have a complete disdain for policing. They've had a desire to live in New York City, and it's a great stepping stone to move on in their careers because CCRB pays, little to nothing, but they go there to get experience, doing investigations with the police department, get a good exposure and insight, and they have a complete disdain for policing. So a lot of them look on to further careers with anti-police, and there's a lot of anti-police rhetoric. These investigations are just a complete failure by the Civilian Complaint Review Board. The investigations are intended to find guilt and not play out as what they mean. Now, when you look at a case like this, watching this body camera, my heart is pounding and beating already. I'm not even involved in it because I know the danger factors that are there for those police officers. There are some tactical failures there, but let's not get into that right now. I want to talk about what is going on with CCRB and their purview and their appearance of this. Those police officers are already put in a vulnerable position as they have to go upstairs to challenge this emotionally disturbed person, and they're getting little to no information from the family. The family hasn't given them much information, so they're led in the dark. And immediately on sight of that emotionally disturbed person, he evades them and goes into the kitchen. That's a problem. That's an immediate problem and starts charging towards them. They're left in a position to take action and to protect themselves. The problem with CCRB, again, is little to understanding of police work and understanding those tactical factors that put you in such a vulnerable position being in those small quarters. Not only do those police officers have to protect themselves, but they have to protect the family members, especially inside that kitchen. And you start to get to those small areas. And the fact that he already took off from them and he's wearing a hoodie and thinks that they can't see, that is a terrible position to be put in. And again, the Civilian Complaint Review Board gets involved and they have purview that they should not be taking part of at all. That should be for the Internal Affairs Bureau and the DA's office. That's it. As far as Civilian Complaint Review Board, I don't think it's just too much. It's too much oversight. And we see it time and time again where the DA's office and the police department finds the police officers acting appropriately, clears them of any problems, and they are found not guilty. And their work is justified. They acted within the scope of their employment. Again, how is this excessive? We're talking about the mentally, emotionally disturbed person here who's in possession of a knife. He's in possession of a knife. And a knife within 20 feet or even more than 20 feet. But the average person, untrained person within 20 feet can be extremely deadly with a knife. It's ironic. We had a great discussion the other day with the Finest Unfiltered, with discussion stuff for the network. And we talked about the dangers. And I've said it before. Here, Crow Eater says excessive force. He had a knife. I would much rather, and I wouldn't want to be involved in anything, but I would, in close quarters, I'd rather be confronted with someone that has a firearm than a knife. Because I can tell you right now, I've done studies in the Marine Corps and training. If you're wrestling or rolling around with someone with a knife, I don't care how good your training is, you are still going to get cut. With a gun, it's dangerous. Potentially you could lose your life, yes. But there is a slim chance you can get your hand on the barrel of that firearm and knock that out of battery and save your life. But with a knife, it's extremely close, it's dangerous, and it's scary. So for the Civilian Complaint Review Board, and most of these investigators look like they couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. One of the investigators that interviewed me on one of my last cases had purple hair and painted nails, and this person is trying to tell me how to operate in life. Really? Most of these Civilian Complaint Review Board investigators would never put themselves in a situation like that. And yet they put so much emphasis and not police officers that put themselves. That to me, that's a scenario. And I would tell my cops, when you're in a situation like that, every time you're in a situation like that, that is the last day of your life. And yet the Civilian Complaint Review Board is asking for the termination. It's time that we terminate the Civilian Complaint Review Board.
Yeah. Yeah, Eric took the words out of my mouth that the agency is, trying to justify its existence, and trying to justify its budget by like unofficially expanding its oversight reach on the NYPD. And the further proof in that is that they, according to Pat Hendry, the union president for the PBA. The board overruled its own investigators on this case. So, they if we needed further proof that they have an agenda over there, and that they, I don't think there's a more clearer one than in this instance. I also want to point out that the CCRB's budget since 2022, at least, it's down by $3 million. Okay. And they asked for a $25 million budget, but instead they got $22 million. So again, I think we have an agency here that's trying to justify its existence and trying to justify its budget in the face of the budget cuts that we've talked about on here. And the city itself, I pointed out that the city itself says they have a budget hole in their own financial statements. That budget gap is $6 billion.
When I'm watching this video, yeah, I mean, one, if you're a police officer, I mean, 101, I don't know if they still train anything in the academy anymore. It appears they don't. But and I'm not knocking because this happened so quickly, but this is why you keep people out of the kitchen and away from weapons. It's like, it's imperative when you go on a family job or you go in someone's home, you go in a tight location, you don't give them access to weapons. The kitchen is where someone's going to go to get a knife. In this case, male goes and gets a scissor, right? And what does he do? He takes the scissor out of the drawer and he charges the police officer. Now, I've said time and time again, don't take a taser to a knife fight because you're getting stabbed. I'm meaning deadly physical force with deadly physical force. I'm not meaning deadly physical force with a piece of flimsy equipment that barely ever works. Sorry. So, for those of you that are criticizing these officers, I don't know what they've done. I don't know what the CCRB is asking should have had, what they should have done differently. Again, should they have been stabbed? Should they have allowed the person to get on top of them with the knife and start stabbing them? I'm not understanding what happened here again. Again, this is the reality of doing police work. People who are experiencing mental illness will act violently a lot of times towards the police. And I think this is something, and this is a learning lesson for family members too, right? If you're going to call 911 on your kids, make sure that they're not going to have access to weapons. Keep them out of the house. Maybe have the husband home or have the brother keep him out of the kitchen, and then have the cops, so that he's unarmed. The cops could wrestle him without having to use deadly physical force, without being presented with deadly physical force. And this way they won't meet deadly physical force. I watched this video. We talked about it when it happened. I'm going to just say it one more time for you people. I've had a lot of mental illness in my family, and I wouldn't expect the cops to have acted any differently here. I don't know what they could have done differently other than keep him out of the kitchen right from the get-go. But again, this was a very fast-paced moving video where that kid went right into the kitchen, went right into the drawer. And as soon as he went for that drawer, if you guys didn't see it, that's why Eric's saying that his heart's racing, because we both thinking the same thing. Oh my God, he's going to get a knife. Right. And that's the reality of it. And so for CCRB to make a determination that these officers should be fired, it's not grounded in truth. It's not grounded in reality. And anyone sitting here saying this should have went differently, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, nor would you ever put yourself in that situation. And I guarantee you, you would never sign up to be a New York City police officer, because this is what you're going to face with. And if you think you wouldn't have shot this kid, then guess what? I guarantee you, you will not. This would have been your last day walking on earth.
You know what's sad? I'm going to say the hard truth. We shoot people that need to be shot. Now, what does that mean? That means that we deploy our firearms when necessary to protect the lives of others and police officers. And the lives of that family and the lives of those police officers were at risk and imminent threat. And we shoot people that need to be shot. Not with a taser, with a firearm to save lives. That's what that firearm is for. And now I was asked in a CCRB investigation, I'm sorry. Let me even retract from that. I was so surprised by the response. The CCRB investigator said it was a forced case where we were wrestling with a perpetrator that was wanted for a shooting and who was in possession of a firearm. The firearm fell out, and we were fighting over this firearm. And I punched and deployed numerous punches to the perpetrator repeatedly to get him to stop. And the investigator said, "Do we shoot to kill?" When and we said even the whole thing stops. So what are you talking about? No, we shoot to stop a threat. We deploy punches to stop a threat. When that threat stops, we stop using force. That's what the public doesn't understand. Active and retired police officers know exactly what we're talking about. But force is applied to save lives and to stop that threat, not to render someone unconscious, not to kill someone. Absolutely not. But we shoot people that need to be shot. And that's the reality. Is it violent? Yes. Sometimes that violence has to be met with violence. Now, John, I get what you're saying. Sometimes, unfortunately, the layout of apartments or houses makes it pretty much virtually impossible to contain someone and not allow them access to the kitchen. And you see the layout. The cops were already in a vulnerable and disadvantaged position. Anytime you have to walk upstairs. And that's why I always give credit to police officers that work in some of these areas where there are large homes, because when you go into someone's house, that's their domain, and they know all the nuances in the locations that they can get to that you can't. So that was kind of tough. The police officer had to go upstairs, and immediately that family member had access, and he was already in the kitchen and ran back into it. They had little information, not much support from the family. I agree with you, John. That would help to get support from the family, but they weren't getting much. You could see clearly that the family was scared. And they obviously are dealing with this family member often. And unfortunately, yes, someone that's mentally ill can be violent. And it's too late for the police officers to be social workers at this point. I think Crow Eater said it before. Crow Eater, I think, said, should have had their social workers show up and CCRB workers. I'm sure it would have been a different outcome. I don't care how much training you have. I've trained my entire life. I don't care if you're Henzo Gracie, and I love Henzo. If you're faced with someone with a knife, you're in a bad position. You're in a bad spot. That firearm is a tool to stop a threat, and the byproduct could and most likely turn out to be deadly. But the goal of the police officers is not to shoot someone dead. It's to stop and to save the lives of that family and the police officers themselves. And just look at that, of how difficult that is. Those police officers are put in a position where they're completely blinded and put in the dark.
You've just watched a clip from our live episode. Click the description to watch the full episode. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this.